My car stolen from me at gunpoint. I had a dude run up on me who was standing right at the front of the store, like, because I pulled up and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, and then I get out and I pump my gas and I get in. He's just sitting there, and then when I come back to get it, he comes and runs up on me. He comes and
Dang.
runs up on me, and I go to jump around to the car to be like, what the fuck, dude? And he flashed the gun through his hoodie. I
Yeah.
backed up.
Back to the podcast. I am excited to be here with Dominic DiFranco. He has been a leader in the insurance industry, and I'm excited to be able to just have a down and dirty and raw conversation about insurance and just kind of the journey that he's been on and what's kind of going on in the insurance space. So, Dominic, I'm excited to have you here, and if you will, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on as well. My name is Dominic DiFranco. I came to Unitrust here in January of 2024. Prior to that, I had been in mortgage sales. I was a mortgage banker from 2019 until 2022. I had met Josh Crisp in 2022 when I was with him at a former company in a different system, and that just wasn't the model, and it just was not at all what I thought it was going to be and what I was expecting to get out of it. So I left that rather quick. I think that was a lot of folks' experience at a place like that. And then Josh and I just had kept in touch over, the next 2 years. And then just as life had kind of, made things turn and how the wind blew, Josh and I ended up back on the phone in January of 2024. And he had told me about Unitrust, where he was at, and he was super excited about it. I checked it out for a full week. I was literally up there, but all week in Zoom, like just watching nonstop, asking questions. I was just texting them nonstop. By the end of the week, I was like, I'm sold. I'm in. Let's do this thing. And it's been history since. I'm happy to be here now. It's almost 2 years. I still personal produce, and I have a team that's doing, I would say, probably if we didn't have the holiday this month, we'd probably do close to 500,000, if not 500,000. So we're building and we're growing, and it's fun. It's exciting to kind of see the whole thing unfold and to hear from other people that we get to learn from as well, like Pete and Brandon and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And so, Dominic, obviously, you've been in the industry a lot longer than I have. What stuck out to you about Unitrust that made it unique from other companies?
Yeah. So what I love about Unitrust and what absolutely sets us apart, bar none, compared to a lot of other IMOs in the space, is the fact that Unitrust has literally set up its business model to where it acts as our investor as agents. That's unheard of. At most other companies, you're going there to plug into a platform to just have resources, but you have to pay for them, figure out a lot of them, bring in your own lead gen, all of that. Here, Unitrust literally created a place where an agent just it's like insurance in a box, I like to say. When I'm on recruiting calls, Jared, I literally tell people, have you ever heard of HelloFresh where you pull out all the ingredients?
Yep.
That's Unitrust. When you come here, you just need your errors and emissions insurance and some capital to buy some leads, but we have all the ingredients in the box you need to pull out. It's literally insurance in a box. So what I like is the fact that Unitrust has set itself up as our investor. What do I mean by that? Literally, Unitrust is in a position to where if us agents are not profitable, the company will fail. Literally, because they're covering the upfront cost of all of our technology, our back office staff and support, and of our lead system above and beyond everything else, which is probably the hardest thing to come by in this entire space, right?
Yeah.
And that's the pain point for a lot of insurance agents. So that's what sets Unitrust apart. And that's why I'm absolutely in love with this place. And I will not ever leave because of the fact that, they have literally positioned themselves where I feel like I'm partnering with my IMO.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm not nervous when when the CEO calls me. I've been at companies where you're like, shit, what's going on? Like your stomach kind of drops, right? Here it's like my business partner. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
When the CEO calls you, it's usually not a good thing. It's usually the last couple of days that you're going to be there. The CEO calling you.
That's right. When you get one from Pete, you're like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, buddy, how are you? Just checking in, it's different. So I like that. And that's real different. And I tell everybody I get on the phone with that exact thing is the fact that Unitrust has positioned themselves as our investor. They don't profit until we do as agents. So what do they do? What is their main objective then? Help us profit. How do they do that? We have a lead system that is completely built in-house, right? We invest in the leads at a subsidized rate. The technology, right? All of the technology integrated for free. The insurance toolkit, the quoting system for free. Data tracking, KPI track, all of that for free. Daily training, 11 to 12, every single day, Monday through Saturday. We literally get trained on the system. And oh, by the way, the number one producer in the entire country made the system, Brandon Hall, who paid over $2.4 million last year. That in itself right there. Hopefully that's enough to kind of express
Yeah.
why Unitrust is the way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I'm it's exactly why I picked Unitrust as well, which has been a huge help. Even just coming from my background in high ticket to just be able to plug into a system, which has been extremely beneficial. Dominic, I'd love to know more about you. Obviously, you had mentioned that you'd been in a couple different insurance IMOs and whatnot, but I'd love to know, where your origin story began as far as, did you go to college? Did you work service industry? And then how did you get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I grew up. My father was an entrepreneur, so he
Okay.
had from the time when I was born, he had taken an equity line out on our first home to go start his mortgage company. He built that company until 2006, 7, 8, and then closed the doors eventually in 2008. So I was around it all the time. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I had worked in the service industry. My uncle was an entrepreneur as well. He still is. He owns, he's had restaurants, he has a window washing business now. So I've always been around the entrepreneur spirit. It's just been in my blood, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. My cousins are into it, right? So like naturally it just always had. It's just been something a part of me. So I've always been around it there. I mean, when I was younger, when my uncle owned a restaurant specifically, like when I was in 7th and 8th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I used to work there all the time. I'd go in there on Friday, Saturday nights, wash dishes until eventually I think I was in high school. He let me start learning how to cook and run the line. And then like I would work there all Sunday and it was just me running the line.
Yeah.
Kid in high school, I was always working. Kids would be at basketball games on Friday night in the winter. I was working. I
Yeah.
always loved hustling and making money. I loved money in my pocket.
It,
So that
so
was in
that's
my blood, man. I used to always just have ideas. Like I remember like my dad and I would be like on the way there, we'd be talking. He'd be like, I have this idea about this. And I'm like, how do we execute it? Let's get this thing done. Like, let's bring this thing. Let's do this. Let's make a lot of money,
Yeah.
So it was all, and then like, I did the landscaping thing always, and I always thought like, man, I'm working for this guy. I can do this. 17 years old. I'm like, dude, I could go buy a lawnmower, and pay a couple $100 a month for it and go pick up accounts. So I
Yeah.
put flyers out to everybody. Right. So it was always in my blood, man. And, so I went to high school local here. I went to NDCL, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. It's in
Okay.
Chardon, Ohio. It was a private school my parents sent me to growing up.
Yeah.
And then I played football and baseball there. And then I went to college. I went to John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio. I studied psychology. I didn't play sports there. I worked and paid my way through school. I had a lot of student loans, but I was paying like, I think $6,000 a semester out of pocket I had to pay for. So like I was working and paying myself and my way.
Yeah.
So I worked and I was close to home. So I got to see, I had 3 younger sisters and I'm an older sister. So I got to see my sisters continue to grow up and stuff like that versus being away for a while, which I was happy about. Looking back on it, I think, it's life just works out the way it is. But if I could go back in a different scenario, I'd let myself have the experience to maybe go try something else. Or to be honest with you, if I knew about this, I would get into this, which is why moving forward, even with my children, I won't push school or, traditional schooling or college down their throat. Right. So, and then, once I graduated college, that's when I got into the mortgage industry because my dad was in it and he was just telling me like, hey dude, consider getting your license. I have buddies who are in the industry still and they're making money. Like it's a good time. So I did. I got it. I was literally in school my last semester and I'm studying the SAFE exam, all during classes. And so I finally passed that. I had one more semester to go in the winter. I found this local company in Cleveland, Liberty Home Mortgage.
Yeah.
I got on the phone with the CEO. He called me up one night because I put an inquiry on the website. I had a conversation with him and the guy's like, hey, come out to my office. I was like, cool, when? He's like, tomorrow morning. I was like, cool, what time? He's like, well, I'm up and at there at like this time. I was like, cool, dude, I'll be there right at that time then. And like the next morning I texted him, it was like 4:30 in the morning. He called me right away. I was like, oh, this is sweet. I'm going to work for this guy. So I went into this office, dude. And when I tell you, like, I wish I could show the video. It was this office in Independence, Ohio. You walk up, you get into the elevator, you go up to the 3rd floor, you walk through this door, and it was around this time of year. And it was a winter wonderland. It was filled with the more decorations than a Hobby Lobby store. It was unbelievable. Music playing 24/7 on the speakers. It was unbelievable. A lot of young people in there. It was amazing. I was obsessed with working at this place. I did phenomenal there. I had a really good time working for that company. I learned a ton from that individual as far as entrepreneurship and leadership and all of that. And then it just, I just think I just eventually kind of grew apart from wanting to do that in my life and being involved in mortgages. So after 3 years and excelling at that, I realized I wanted to go a different route in my life. And then, dude, in my first year at mortgages outside of school, this was in 2019. I started in January of 2019. I made $110,000 my first year out of school. My second year, I made $220,000. My third year, I made $325,000. And then I left. And I remember I had because we were all on the same age and they're all hitting me up like, dude, are you nuts? What's going on? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm just done. I need time. I want away from it. I'm done with the grind, whatever, this and that.
Yeah.
For 2 years, in each of those calendar years individually, in 2022 and 2023, I don't think I surpassed in each of those years 40 grand in income. It was a tough time, man. I went through a lot of stuff emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, and just kind of coming to grips with like, what it is do I really want in my life? What is it that really actually fuels me? My wife now, Nina, had gotten pregnant in October of 2000 and, oh God, she can kill me. 2022. Okay. And at that time I was like, oh my gosh, like I was landscaping, dude. I had gone from making $300,000 a year and I was landscaping. My Mexican brother sitting next to me, Lupe, in the truck,
Yeah.
making $17 an hour. And every day I'm like, dude, am I nuts? Should I go back? Like, I don't know what to, like, I felt insane. And then I found out she got pregnant and I'm like, oh my God, through all, and in that time I thought I wanted to be a fireman. So I was in an EMT course. And I remember sitting in this course one night. It was around this time, actually, in 2022. And I was sitting in the class. We were getting ready for the midterm. We were just like studying. And I was like, I will be miserable in my life down the road if I don't fulfill that fire passion inside of me to go after the life I want. It's like something smacked me right in the head. I don't know what it was, but it like lit a fire back in me. Thank God I like refound that fire, and then that lit it inside of me. And then from there, it was still a journey, still a big journey. So then I aligned with a company that I thought I was going to help kind of franchise out and build out with them. That didn't work out. Then I was Ubering to make money. And then I started a detail business. I was detailing cars on the side, just posting on Facebook, and I was filling up a schedule, dude. I was doing good work. I bought all my materials. You know, I drive out, do people's jobs all by myself. It was good. And I thought I was going to build that up. And then on January 17th of 2024, before I just came here, I was Ubering because it was cold. I couldn't detail a car that day, right? I had no client. I don't have a garage to bring them into. I was Ubering. I flicked off Uber for a little bit. I had to go run an errand. Well, there was some cheap gas in a tough area that I kind of drove through for a second before I got to the highway. So I was like, I'm going to peel off in here real quick, throw 20 in it. Dude, I got my car stolen from me at gunpoint. I had a dude run up on me who was standing right at the front of the store. Like, cause I pulled up and I'm like sitting there and I'm like, and then I get out and I pump my gas and I get in. He's just sitting there. And then when I come back to get it, he comes and runs up on me. I have the video and everything. He comes and runs up on me, and I go to jump around to the car to be like, you know, what the fuck, dude? And he flashed the gun through his hoodie. I backed up in the video, and then he gets in and he skirts off. So that's what led me to getting on the phone with Josh. So it's been a crazy whirlwind, man. I mean, listen, I don't think I'm so important where my life is like this crazy, magnificent story. But for me, I can see exactly how it is of why the person I am today and why I experience the level of success I feel I experience. And also the path I'm on is just because the culmination of all those things of experiencing different things in life and going through different hard times at young ages and just seeing certain things growing up, you know, like a father building a massive business. I mean, dude, he had a company where he was employing 50 to 60 plus people. I mean, imagine being in a company where you're paying their 401ks, you're matching, you're paying health benefits, you're paying for family outings and stuff, and then you lose it all because the market, right? I mean, it was devastating. So I saw a lot. I saw him at very high, and I saw a lot of lows. Well, I had a mother I grew up with where she had substance abuse issues. She was in and out of rehabs like 4 to 5 times in my life, extended rehabs, like sometimes 8 to 10 months at a time. And so I went through a lot of that where I also saw at a young age, I was like, man, if I make money and figure out how to do this thing in life, I think I can solve a lot of problems. And then when I made a lot of money right out of college, when I was in my young 20s, I realized I'm still fucking miserable and there's still things inside of me I'm not happy about. So I really felt like, looking back now, of course, hindsight vision's 2020, but those 2 years after it's like God gave me everything I wanted out of school. Cause I used to pray begging for it in college. Like, man, if I could just be in a vehicle where I can make money, that'll fix everything. And right away outside of school, I got that. And I was crushing it. And to come the next 2 years where I'm like, I don't want to say it was like a rock bottom where I hit like a rock bottom. I don't think I ever really hit like a crazy rock bottom. Well, I mean, for my journey, I think it was a 2-year testing period where I was like getting back to the roots of what was important to me. And what is now so awesome to me, Jared, is I'm appreciative I went through that, because I feel like making money now in the position I'm in now, I feel present. I feel grateful. I feel humbled. I mean, dude, I'm getting chills thinking about it, because like I now have such a firm faith in God and in the universe, because like, dude, when I had my car stolen from me, I had some guy from the gym that I used to go to this CrossFit gym back when we lived on the other side of town before we moved. This guy offered to buy me a car in cash. He's like, dude, I really like, you inspire me. I like this grown man in the gym. I mean, he's in his 50s. He's like, don't tell anybody else in the gym, but like, if they don't find your car, which they ended up finding it and I got it back, but he's like, I'll buy you a car cash. And I remember breaking down in tears on the phone. I'm like, wow, there's zero need for me to ever worry. Why would I ever worry? And that was me in the transition going to Unitrust. And that's when I kept feeling like, man, this place is good. And then I got on the first meeting and they're talking about like manifesting and having gratitude and their energy. And I'm like, alignment. I love this place. And then you hear Pete and Brandon talking. They're not like assholes or egotistical pricks who are like just talking about their Gucci belt and flip flops.
Yeah.
Like they're good humans, right? So a lot of alignment, man. And that's why, I mean, if you can't tell from the way I speak about it, I love this place. I really do. It's a phenomenal place.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the passion that you have is you can hear it, you can see it, and it's truly incredible. And one thing that, I mean, there's multiple things that you mentioned, but one thing that I really pulled from your whole story is the hustle. Like, dude, you have undeniable hustle with everything that you were doing. You found the success. You went through the rough times, but you were piecing everything together. You had mentioned that, hey, you filled your day. And now being able to have that, and I can tell that you brought that same drive, hunger, and hustle into insurance, and you still have it. Because I get to watch it firsthand every single day, which is just a pleasure to be able to watch and be able to see. What do you think are some success habits that you've developed through your time to be able to help create that hustle, the drive, but also just the consistency to keep going?
Dude, I think that's a phenomenal question because I've been thinking about this too. Because do you ever think like, you're how old?
I'm 27.
Okay, you're 27. I'm 30. Do you start thinking about yet, like, what is the separator between your own looking self, if you're going to consider this in your own conscious thought,
Sure.
and maybe people you graduated school with who are like, you know, maybe stuck in a 9 to 5, they're not happy, they're at the bars every Friday, Saturday, they have season tickets to the games and they're always right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Right? They're always gambling their money away or like at the bars, but you see what I'm, right?
Yep.
And I think it's like, dude, it didn't start when I came to Unitrust. It started a while ago. My parents, I literally posted about this yesterday on my story. My parents gave me the book The Secret when I was in 6th grade by Rhonda Bryn, and I fell in love with it, dude. And my dad, okay, he was an entrepreneur. He loved this stuff. At our house that we had, at one point, I grew up in like $1 million mansion.
Wow.
That my dad had bought when he was doing very well. Now, majority of the time in there was not what it would appear. And that was a hard thing I kind of dealt with growing up, was like, hey man, there's this facade where I feel like kids look at me like I'm this super ultra wealthy kid. And I'm in here like, dude, if you guys only knew the arguments in this house that you heard of like the pain of the things that are happening financially and, you know, with the addiction and mental health stuff. So, but I latched on, my dad had this library. He had a really awesome office in this house and it had shelving built into it. And he had books, just tons of books, business, money, politics, the old books about like Abraham Lincoln. He used to have these photos up on his wall about Abraham Lincoln and like the things he went through, Lombardi. So he was into that, right? Yeah. And it caught me. Well, he had books on there about manifesting and your thoughts changing your reality. They gave me The Secret. And it caught me where I was like, oh my gosh, you're telling me I can attract things to me through my thoughts. And then, so that started, I think, my like evolution of discovering that stuff. Dude, in high school, I was reading self-help positivity books all the time. I don't know. I was just obsessed with them. Do you remember the old Eric Thomas video?
Dude, I was about to say Eric Thomas. I got into Eric Thomas in like 8th grade and dude just changed everything.
From the video of the running back from East Carolina State University who was trying to get drafted.
Yeah, Inky Johnson.
What was his name?
Or was it Inky Johnson? And he had the injury.
Oh, dude, I don't know who it was, man. I forget, but they had that video over it, and it was Eric Thomas.
Yep.
And I mean, that there caught me too. But so from a very young age, and these were things I saw too. Okay. Here's just a couple things I picked up on over time. Now, a lot of it was for me. I've always been attracted to like, okay, if I understand the evolvement of my mind has to help for me to get the things I want, I have to go with it too. And you learn that over time. In the beginning, it was very juvenile. Oh, my thoughts, if I think of a red bike will come to me. Then you realize over time, it's no, you attract what you feel. And so I have to feel good. And if I have resentment in me, like Tony Robbins says, affirmations, you can't go to the garden and say there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, when there's weeds everywhere. You have to go pull the weed out. So then you learn over time, okay, I have to get this resentment out of me. I have to face this insecurity, this anxiety. I have to face these things. Yeah. But from a very young age, I saw my mom get up early and pray every day. So I started doing that. In high school, I had a Miss Nowak. My sophomore year, we had to take theology because I went to Catholic schools. My sophomore, I don't know why, we did like a whole Bible study that entire semester. It caught me. That was like where like the Lord woke up in me, right? So I started following that. My mom was super, one of like the things she kind of dealt with was like OCD, I don't know, ADD, ADHD, whatever. Clean room, clean space. I'm maniacal about it. I'm nuts. And it's 100% because of her. My dad was like that too. He was a little bit more chaotic, organized in his way. But my mom was like, she wanted to see the lines in the carpet. So I get up from a young age, make my bed. Dude, I was doing my laundry young, folding my clothes, putting my keeping up with cleaning my own bathroom, scrubbing my own toilet at a young age. So those habits, like I do, like, you know, I always saw my dad walk the cart back to the place, right? Like, you know, if you go put it back on the shelf, like you don't just set it aside, you know? So like things like the small things I would see like that, right? So up early is a big thing. I think being up early, like, and that's just a time where I was even telling my wife Nina the other day, I'm like, this is like, cause they got up early cause we have a 4-month-old and she woke up and I was downstairs and they walked down. I'm like, this is dad's time. This is not your guys' time. This is my hour for me to just like contemplate with the Lord and just to kind of hear like what it is I need to work on and where I went wrong. So that's big. Another habit in that, contemplation, dude. I do perspective thinking and take all the time. Listen, I'm in my phone a lot. We're on our phone 8 hours a day because of just our work and everything and just our culture. Yeah. I make sure that's why I get up early at that 5:30 time. Like, even if it's a half hour with a cup of coffee and some water, I'm sitting there just listening, just like, how did I respond to her yesterday? Maybe I should be better there. I kind of was a dick to that client when they told me no. I had people watching me. I need to be better there. Like, okay, right? Finding those things. I think that's huge because I know for a fact, man, I found out, Jared, that if you resonate from a happy frequency in your heart, you'll attract everything you want. 100%. So I make sure that a success habit of mine is that contemplation and making sure that I'm being a stand-up person, not only for myself, for my family, and all of that. Working out, physical health, have to. 100% have to. I'm not even just saying lifting weights, getting jacked, but like just stuff. Go for walks, go in the park, go for runs, row, bike, do something. You just need it. It helps the brain endorphins, all of that. You have to. Diet is 100. Your gut health is everything to your brain. You have to take care of that. Now, am I the best with it? No. Do I eat pure organic everything? Absolutely not. But you got to monitor it, right? 80-20 rule. Make it 80% good whole foods, 20%. I get it, right? No?
Yep. Still got to live life.
Yeah. Another success habit I think is super important, man, is building, how do I put this? Is building the resiliency with confidence. So like confidence, I think people get a lot misconstrued with it. They think it's like you can grab the mic in a bar and like be the DJ and like sing in front of people. Yeah. I think confidence is just knowing that like no matter what you face in life, you know you can rise to the occasion. So I'm confident that if Pete called all of us to an emergency meeting and said, hey, we just got raided and shut down, like Unitrust is no longer a thing, I know I can pick it back up quick, find something else, even if it's brand new, dedicate myself to it and watch it build, because I now see, my brain like almost sees it like geometric shapes. I can see, and again, this is part of the looking back. You should do that. I can see these lessons that I've gone through and all these things in life. And even now being at Unitrust, we see these graphs Pete shows us sometimes of the company. I'm on that same graph. It's just a smaller scale at 500,000. He's looking at a few million a year, or you know, tens of millions a year. I'm looking at a couple million a year, but it's the same ups and downs. So to me, I go, okay, just keep showing up. So that's another success habit, dude, is I am fucking relentless, dude. I will show up. I'll shovel shit. Dude, I was Ubering and got fucking robbed trying to provide for my family. I will do whatever it takes. I will. It's not even a matter of getting what I want. It's just a matter of I refuse to live anything but an abundant life. And if like a lot of people, you know, for me, I had a football coach in 7th and 8th grade, Mr. Natali, who used to say, there is no better prayer than getting up and giving God your best every single day. There's no better prayer. What does the Bible say? Seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open, ask and you shall receive. What are all the first 3 words of those? Verbs. You have to be the doer. If you're not the doer, nothing's going to reciprocate. It's cause and effect. You have to be the first motion. So I have just recognized that, like, dude, it's no different than Walt Disney can create fucking Disney and Pablo Picasso can paint art. I can create my life and so can you. So, and it's just a matter of just doing that work. And it's hard. And it's hard to face your demons, but that's the biggest success. I will say hands down, the best thing, Jared, is the fact that I don't know what it was young that caught me onto it, but I always went inside on everything. Everything I ever went through, I was like, how can I be the person that doesn't give a fuck if this happens to me? I don't want this to affect me. How can I go, like, it was a goal of mine last year and I accomplished it. And even now to this day, I guarantee she doesn't even know what I'm at for the week. Nina, I don't want her to know if I'm having a good day or bad day or a good week or bad week at the sales table when I walk upstairs. If I've done that, I feel like I've gotten so much better at handling my emotions than the man I used to be, who was unhinged, uncuffed, and like, I'd be fucking pissed off. If I heard something bad happen in the family or I was pissed off about this with one of my parents, it shut me down for a week and I'd be a dick to people. Now I'm like, she can't even tell if I blinked for the whole week or not. Or if I'm writing 20,000 this week. And that to me is like, that's when I care about more about my dollars growing, because all that stuff adds to the dollars growing. It's those, it's like those things that I feel like add to the big consummation of what you actually want. But so many people are fixated on the external thing they're just looking for.
Yeah. Now, obviously, like your routine is obviously set in stone. Like I can see how like you're very consistent with what you do. Now, when you do have those like blank days or those hard emotional times of when like it can take you low, but you stay consistent with it. Like when that initially happens, how do you deal with that to then be able to take it back to the system that you built?
So there was a video I've seen before where it was an interview from like that Andrew Tate was in, and then one that Elon Musk was in, and they were both talking about the job at hand and emotions. And they said that as men, if you let yourself be driven by your emotions, you'll never accomplish anything, because your emotions will always tell you the thing opposite to do of what it is you actually need to do to get the job done. So in those times, I have to distinguish like, okay, what are my emotions going to tell me? Because I've been there. Shit, this system's broke. The leads suck. It's dried up. Yep, I did it. Here it is. I dried up the entire well of what I could get from this, and now I'm going to hit rock bottom. Let me go start calculating how much is in the bank and how long we could live without me making $1. Now being like, dude, that's juvenile. That's old Dominic. Put that away. Put that away. Focus on your I've fallen in love so much with the process to where, Jared, it doesn't even impact me anymore. Now, I don't want to say that so strongly and arrogantly as if like I'm unimpacted by it. It'll still catch me sometimes. If I'm like 0 for 12, like the first 3 days a week, I'm like, dude, I'll call Ron, like, bro, am I speaking a different language? Am I okay? You know, and I'll check myself. But the thing, again, going back to one of the success habits of just being resilient with understanding the process, right? Like you see it here. It's a very systematic thing, irregardless of the week or the day you had yesterday before, the week before, or whatever you're having now. There's no results tomorrow unless you show up and do the same work you did the day before. Not slightly further off the gas, maybe a little bit more on it. But if you just kept it, I just focused on applying the same pressure over time. How does water boil? You put the flame on and you walk away from the stove. It's not like the heat keeps getting turned up on its own. It's applied pressure over time. And then eventually there's a boiling point, right? So in that, I just realized that like, okay, if I go back to the stove in the third minute, I might not see any bubbles. Okay, that's me blanking. But if I keep applying that pressure, in the next minute I come back, that's the next week, let's say, I pop 15K. So it's like in those days, I just have to remind myself, Ron always taught me, never get too high in the highs, never get too low in the lows. You want to find a way to be constant. And that sung to me because I was like, oh, I want to be emotionally constant as a man. Like, yes, I get pissed. Yes, I get frustrated. Or you get it. Yes, I get down. I get upset. But it's such a quicker bounce back now. And that's, I feel like when I go through those days, again, I go upstairs and dude, I put it away at night and I play with my kids. I get back to smiling. I get back to being grateful. And then I recognize, you know what? Sometimes if I go through a sales lull, it's usually just my attitude. I had this last week, the past couple of weeks, I was in like 6K. Now I get it. For some, that might be a lot, but for producers like us, you're like, damn, dude, I should be hitting this milestone every week, right? I realize it's just my attitude. I was caught up in the mundane. Right? I'm making this amount per week, every single week. I'm making this amount per month. It feels easy. I'm grateful. I'm happy, but like, it feels like Groundhog Day just a little bit with the work, right? So I have to constantly check myself to get back in the mode of being like, hey, this is the time the person's going to talk to you for the first time. This is your first impression. This is a human you're taking care of. Pour into them, fix your tone, be there to serve them. And voila, you come back and I'm at, just under 13K for the week, in 3.5 days of work. It's on those days, you just have to remember, I'm in love with the process, not the result. The result's the cherry on top, but the process is everything. And if you're dedicated to the process, the days in between they're just character building.
Yeah. That's huge. That's such a great insight, Dominic. I greatly appreciate that. We talked to a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of single guys, or maybe not fathers on this podcast, and I'm curious to know, like, with you going through this journey, obviously being an entrepreneur, but being in a high performing sales role here in Unitrust, how do you balance that and being a dad?
So, I mean, it takes two to tango. So my partner's on board. That's the biggest thing. Like Nina's on board with what I do.
Yep.
We don't have a perfect relationship. Nobody does. We have our bickerments and arguments like any other, and our annoyances, but we're on the same page. She sees the vision. She understands what it takes. But here's the thing is she also knows me. Like from the get, she saw. So when she met me, when we worked at Liberty together, I was the top performer there. So she knew, like, I used to tell her, like, no, I don't, like, but this is before, I mean, I was living in an apartment with my boys. I mean, I was this strict, literally. I would tell her no sleepovers during the week because I'm up early. I go to the gym. You can come over and hang out, but you got to go home. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, she came down here, she would tell you that. Dude, independent of it. I was dialed in. I knew what I wanted. So she saw that. And here's the thing that I think unfortunately happens in relationships is ambitious men start out young, they get into a relationship, they start to get comfortable. They lose sight of themselves and their vision, which is what the woman was initially attracted to, was the ambition and the drive. There starts to build resentment and distance, and then there becomes a lack of trust on the female's end, and then they feel like they have to kick in the masculine energy to overtake that in order to run both aspects of the house because the man slips away a little bit. For me, I think I'm never going to let that be a problem. I'm going to be a man, and I'm going to go out and hunt, and I'm going to give my woman the opportunity to be at home and to gather, right? Women receive, men go out, right? And to be in her full energy there. So I think from the fact that I've always been like, hey, if you want to go be a nurse, you want to go do hair dry, whatever you want to do, go do it. But if you want to be a mom, I'm going to make sure you can do that too. Right. So her being on board with that is everything. I mean, I'll be like, hey, I run appointments hard 4 days a week. Friday, I'm around for the team. I follow ups, conservation, stuff like that. We're never really off. I mean, dude, there's sometimes I'll work till 9 o'clock at night, Monday through Thursday. No bitching, nothing. I don't get any of it. It's just, listen, I might know she wants to spend some time and she might not say something, but at the end of the day, I still know like she respects what it is I'm doing. That's huge. So that would be like the number one thing there because of the fact that like you have to have that. If you don't, man, it's an uphill battle. Like, I don't feel like I'm trying to get her on board. I just feel like it's smooth sailing and I can freely go provide for my family.
Yeah.
So that's very important there. And then also too, another major thing I think of, Jared, is like my kids are watching me. So like I want to put on a show for them, right? Ed Milet has this great clip. We've probably all seen it behind some sort of video on Instagram Reels or TikTok where he says, like your kids are going to figure you out one day, right? Like if you constantly tell them like you could be anything you want, they're going to eventually turn around and say, Daddy, then why haven't you become what you wanted? Are you what you wanted? And when I heard that before my son was born, I was like, that was another thing that kicked me in the gear of getting back into entrepreneurship was like, I have to be the utmost example for him. I have to be the supreme. I have to be better than what I felt like, maybe some things I was shown and some things I want to improve on to break generational curses, to move things forward. So that's a big driver for me as well. So I'll talk to my son like that. Like, hey, like Tony, dude, hey buddy, you want to come work with Daddy? You see Daddy providing, you see Daddy up early and he comes around, right? He gets it. I go in the gym. He walks out with me. I leave the door open for him. I put a heater on the garage. So we can leave the door open. He'll come out. He'll start picking up the 5-pound weights, right? So that's another thing too, where I go, never are these kids going to do what I say. It's always going to be what I show them. And that's in leadership as well. And that's why I work so hard here as well, is because if I want to build a massive team and I need multiple layers beneath me of leadership, if I can't impart upon my leaders by my voice, maybe my action will do something. And action always speaks louder than word. So I think that's a major driver within me as for my family. And then, dude, I mean, everybody says you need a why. I mean, my why is my family, right? I mean, it's like until you have kids, you just don't know that feeling, and I never knew that until I had them, which is what every parent used to always tell me, every adult.
Yeah.
And now I know. And it's like, it's your extension walking around. You're like, I want to give them everything I can. But for my son, I want to make it difficult. And I will. He will have a difficult time. He will have a difficult time.
That's how you build a warrior.
Yeah.
You don't build a warrior with easy times.
His grandma might not like it, but that'll be all right.
Absolutely. I was having an actual interesting conversation with one of my brothers the other day, and he had talked to me about, being able to share his vision with his wife. And you had talked about sharing your vision with Amina.
Nina.
Yep. Nina. Awesome. And Was she always just like on board and just like, 100%, or like how did you like help share that vision that you had with her?
That's a really good question, dude. No, and not from a negative standpoint. It's not like I had to sell her on it. It's just, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not opened up to the thought. Like, listen, dude, a billionaire will go marry a woman working in a diner, right? Like it's just how it is, right? That's just, I'm not gonna get into that conversation, but that's just how it is. So
Yeah.
like Nina, I love in our relationship, it's not like I always knew, and this is no disrespect to anybody that's in that, but I always knew like I didn't want to be with somebody who was as high strung as me. Cause especially as a Leo, that's not gonna, it just won't work. Now we're both Leos, but Nina's very chill. Hey
Yeah.
dude, kick your shoes off. Get on the couch and relax. And I'm like, I think I need to go do push-ups. I'm gonna go listen to a podcast. I'm gonna go out in the gym in the garage. I think I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna go to Home Depot. She's like, dude, just go do whatever the hell you need to do and like just relax. Okay. So for Nina, she's not like I sat down and went over our finances one time with her and she's like, dude, thank God for you, because I don't give a shit about any of this. Right.
Yeah.
So my point in saying that is like, it's not that she was never not on it. It's just she wasn't exposed. Like, that's not what I grew up with, a father who was involved in entrepreneurship. It's not like she didn't grow up around people who were trying to make money and stuff. But dude, even though my dad was struggling a lot of my life financially because of losing the business, he still had a lot of success. So I got to learn from somebody who was in that position that still was in him. Dude, I used to be able to ask him questions about anything political and he'd have an educated opinion on it where I could be like, oh, okay, I get that. That makes sense. So now to where like in business conversation, I could talk with Pete and I might not know everything, but I can hang because I could put two and two together. I can hear all these different guys talk about, I can go watch a Jake Claver podcast about XRP and him talk about macroeconomics and be like, hey, I kind of get what's going on here. I'm not a genius, but I get this. I didn't have that. She didn't have like, it wasn't like, I grew up with vision boards, bro. That's what I thought my dad would tell me. Like, dude, if I would read these books, Lena wasn't reading those books. So I think us being together, where she helped expose a lot of things I needed to do and work on, there were also, it's like you bring two people together and they help, it's for each other, right? So it's like, I would over time just be like, hey, this is like, I remember telling her one time when we first started dating, like later in dating, I was like, hey, we work together, like, and I know you like see me at the top of the leaderboard, like, do you know like what I kind of make? And she was like, no. And I told her, she's like, holy shit, really? She's like, I'm like, yeah. And she's like, dude, that's insane. I haven't thought about that. Like I grew up in this area around these people and this kind of class of people. Like, this is what I'm used to. So, right. You see what I'm saying? Like, until you're exposed to that, you don't know. So again, it's never that she wasn't on the vision. It was always just that, like, it was unfolding. It was like us learning to paint it together. And then her realizing like, oh, we kind of have the resources to do stuff like this. And now our conversations are like, hey, we're going to be able to do things like this, this, and this. But what's cool is let's always just stay us. And she's like, yeah, dude, I don't want designer purses. I don't give a shit about designer clothes. I just want to be simple and be cool. And she's like, I want to be the Adam Sandler, like Adam Sandler,
wearing whatever,
she
just
loves that.
being him. Yeah.
So, and I'm like, you're my dude forever because that's cool. So I don't have to worry about like, keeping up with the Joneses when it comes to my life. That's an issue too, right? A man starts making a ton of money and the spending goes up in the house between both of them. Right? I don't care about that. So we're on this. That's where we've cultivated our vision too, is like, hey, we're going to go do a lot of things and we don't even need, like, I grew up in the big house. I don't want it. I do not want it. I love the house we're in now, but let's go travel. Let's be able to have time back. Let's make sure we're part of, like, one thing we do now is like, dude, we get our blood work done from non-traditional doctors, right? Like, we have the resource to be able to do that. I want to be able, that is something that's a part of our vision. How can we be healthy long-term and start that now? Right? So
it's a big lifestyle change.
100%, man.
Yeah.
So I think it's just been, and then also too, what's been amazing is like being able to actually experience that now and seeing how like the mother she is and how nurturing she is in the home. It just helps us in our vision of like what we always want to do. Like, hey, we want to be able to homeschool so we can go do this, so we can bring our kids and we can kind of have, predominant say in their thought structure and how they think about things and, and the person they are versus being shipped off somewhere. So it's kind of long-winded, but it was never that she was not on board with any part. It was just like you expose each other to different aspects of what you've been exposed to. And then as we grow, listen, when I was in college and I wanted to make a ton of money, I thought a ton of money was maybe just like 80 to 100 grand. And then when you go and you make multiple six figures back to back year, a few years in a row, you're like in your 20s, you're like, okay, the vision expands. I want to,
Yeah.
what more can I do? But it doesn't become about more money, at least for me. And I know a lot of people, some people, they really get hungry driven by that. It becomes, and I'm glad it switched for me quick. It does become about like, hey, what like further service can I provide? How can I help more people? Like, yes, I want to build my team because I make override income and I can stop producing, but it's also like, it's also really cool seeing your agent make their first sale. You know, like I want to go to my agent's weddings down the road. Like, that's cool. I want to meet their kid. Like Tony comes and pops on and they know him in the Zoom room.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
cool.
like that's cool to me. So like all of that, man. And I honestly, the relationship is absolutely something that I'm just grateful for every day because, you know, I grew just transparently. I grew up in a household where the relationship was not cohesive. So
Yeah.
I always knew that my vision was no matter what it is I went through with my spouse in life, whether it was financial, health wise, family death, whatever it is, trial time, we didn't have to be at each other's throat. I saw that. I saw money become a thing that drove our family apart, unfortunately, and a lot of the issues that ensued with that, to where I knew that was my vision. And when I explained that early on too, like, hey, listen, you know, when we were starting to have for real talks, I'd be like, this is like I won't do divorce. If it's a long-term thing, we're going to do a long-term thing. I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm not going to be involved in a relationship where I'm unhappy. I won't do it. So like, this is the vision of like, I believe we can have the spark and a relationship that lasts for years to come, but it takes us each doing our best every day to seek the highest version of ourselves. That's
Yeah.
how I think you never lose the spark. And that's always been our vision that we were on together from day one. We had a very early conversation about that in a relationship of like, yeah, in order for me to make sure that I have to always worry about my half in the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So that's always been the shared vision, is making sure that like, hey, we can like have fun into our late age. We really can, and not resent each other and this and that. But let's make sure that the way we do that is focus on you. So like, it's always like, how are you? Are you good? What's up inside of you? Do you need to go, do you need to go extra? Do you need a day by yourself? Are you good? Right.
Yeah.
Because that helps support and uplift each other, to be able to feel like you're present in that relationship, to be there and to be all in on it and intentional with it.
Yeah, that's huge. And dude, you're speaking to the choir. There's so many things that you just touched on that even looking at my wife's and I relationship, you know, divorce is not a word that we use. Like I always call like, hey, we don't use the D word. Like that's just not even in our vocabulary, which is awesome. Kind of switching relationships a little bit. And when growing a business, obviously you've been in Unitrust for 2 years. There's been extreme amounts of growth that I'm sure that you've been able to see. And one of the things that I was talking about with one of my mentors was, you know, when obviously as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of our own ideas. We think that we can do things differently or do things better. And one of the things that he was talking to me about was in the Bible, it talks about bending a knee to your leader to develop. And have you ever had any of those moments a part of your development of when that's had to happen, or any experiences with that in the relationship that you have with Pete or any other mentors in the business? Because you obviously talk very highly of them. And when it's a great relationship, there's also learning moments as well.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I think it's important that every man learns to say sorry. You have to get comfortable, especially in a relationship, in a marriage, like, especially if you're leading your house in faith, like, man, you got to be able to, you got to have sorries. And that's bending the knee. I mean, I just did it earlier. I responded in a way that, you know, was not favorable. I was caught up in the moment in something. I responded. It was just quick. And I came back up and I was like, that's not me, dude. My bad. I didn't mean to do that. Right. So yes, of course I've been there. Right. I mean, dude, I had a tough, heated conversation with a couple of my bosses before, you know. I like that quote, by the way. That's awesome. And I can understand with wisdom what that means. Like, you have to be willing to submit yourself to maybe like a higher knowing, like something of no, okay, so like a Pete knows better. Like, dude, just listen. Do you want to be right or be rich? Right? Yes, dude, 100%. I've been in situations. I mean, being young, making a lot of money, I will say one of the challenges I've had faced before is like sometimes thinking like, damn, dude, I might be one of the youngest cats in the room making the most money. And if you let that slip, dude, that'll crush your ego. It'll freaking inflate that thing, right? I've not gotten to that point, and I don't feel that way. I don't think it makes or mars me as a man. I really don't, nor does anybody's abundance of resource or lack of resources make them any more important or less important. But I have dealt with that. I've dealt with that, you know, just being and feeling like, man, you know, I wonder where my income level is in this room. And if, you know, this, and you have to watch with that. So in business, I have also had times where I've faced challenging things with other people in challenging situations with leaders inside of the business or other teams and this and that. Dude, those are learning lessons. Those are learning lessons that you have to learn to go through. And I have been on the phone with Pete before in certain conversations where he'll be like, okay, are you done now? And I'm like, yes, I vented. Okay. Can I give you perspective? Sure, Pete. Boom. Pete goes on one of his awesome tangents for like 5 minutes, brings up a great story. And you're like, all right, Pete, you're right. You're right. That's not me. I've had that a couple times, you know, I'm okay with it. I understand it. Is it a gut punch sometimes? Sure. Right. Because you do want to think like, I mean, as men, we do like, it's a conquer thing inside of you. You want to feel there is an aspect of every man, I think, that is a little bit hungry for that admiration of respect. You want to feel like your name was stamped on something and like you get your admiration for that. I'm not saying you have to have your name on the side of a medical building or a stadium, but like it would be pretty cool if it was like, yeah, you know, Jared's the guy that came up that Brandon Hall should do a boot camp and put it out to all the new agents. Like that'd be congrats, Jared, right? Or like, hey man, Jared led his team and he's a prominent figure that everybody in his team looks up to. I think any leader would want that. What I've realized though is if I let that lead me, it'll turn me into somebody I'm not authentically being. It'll force me to act in more of a way that I'm not. I'm the person where I do sometimes get into a mode where I will want somebody's success more than they want it, it feels like, unfortunately. But I have learned that I have to allow people to find it on their own. I've struggled with that in life where I've gotten frustrated when people don't seem to put in as much effort as I feel like they should to get the result I felt like I was able to because of the effort I put in, without realizing that number one, that same fire just might not be in there, not because they're a bad person or a lesser person than me, a bad person, but because they're just on a different part of their journey. So a lot of my lessons have been this year of like, dude, not how do I make more money, but like, how do I manage people better so I can have a fuck ton of people around me in my business and I can manage a lot more at scale. I have to be a different Dominic. I have to be. I can't be the same Dominic that'll react emotionally to certain things. You got to take emotions out of business. I've had to learn that from Pete. I've had to learn that from Josh. I've had to get on phone calls with Josh where he'll be like, let me have it. And I'll bitch for 2 minutes. He'll be like, you done? Yep. Okay. Dude, let it go. Take your emotions out. Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. So yeah, you got to bend the knee. And if you're not willing to, that is called ego. And I don't think you will grow. You might grow, but you'll plateau. And I've seen people do that. I see it happen currently around in other places and just all around. And it's like, man, I steer far away from that. I steer far away from those people because that's destructive. You know, thinking you're high and mighty and like your name, you know, like you've done something, like dude, nobody cares what you've done in the past. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Nobody cares I made money when I was in my young 20s. Nobody gives a shit. People got bills today. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's just cool for me to say. It's like an ego gratification for me. So I try to make sure I'm just always checking that thing and making sure that like, hey, dude, Josh and Pete know what they're doing, right? Like their car is a little bit cooler than mine, you know? So like, not that I care to have that, but like, clearly they must know something. And also, too, the reason why I like Pete and why I'm willing to listen is because he's also a good human. I've been a part of other leadership where when they say something, I'm like, dude, frig off. Like, I'm not listening to you because you don't actually believe that. Because when you snap in your anger, I see what really comes out, right? Like Pete and Brandon are wholesome dudes. I've been around them. They're good people. So when Pete comes on here and he's like, hey, we can add an extra 20 million to our bottom line if I let you guys do this, but we won't because ethically and morally, it's not right to the people that have been a part of past companies and this and that and to the clients they had. I go, that's my guy. That guy's going to go to the moon and I want to be with him. And you know what? If he comes to me and says, hey, dude, I got to check you on something, damn it, I better be willing to listen because it's no different than me going 0 for 12 on a lesson I need to fix my tone. Sometimes it just comes more in your face, but it's the ego that flares up that wants you to fight back and say, well, but they did this and I did it. Dude, just listen. So I haven't always been good at that in life. I feel like in the past few years, I've gotten better at that. And it has been something that has allowed me the opportunity to learn more.
Yeah. That's huge. I greatly appreciate that perspective and being able to share that with us. Looking at someone that's looking to, you know, maybe join your team or is looking to get into insurance, like what do you specifically look for as far as maybe when you're going through recruiting and maybe some background that people have?
Yeah. So when I have conversations with people about them joining the team, I always make it I always make it a point to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to be myself. Because if they don't mess with me on that first call, they ain't gonna like me down the road. So sometimes I might bring the energy up like this a little bit. So they know when that comes on day one, they're like, okay, this isn't new, right? They're not freaked out. And it scares some people off. I'm sure some people do not want to work with me because they're probably like, dude, this guy's crazy and he's whatever. That's fine. I'm not, you know, we're not anybody is for anybody, right? Or for everybody. So I make it a point to be all me. I'll swear. I don't care what age I'll swear. I have to be authentically me. I have to. I'll throw jokes in there. I have to so that they know who I am. Number two, This is a part of number one, though, of me being who I am. I have to be so real about the work that is required. I tell them, and I crack the joke, when you get on our daily training, you're not going to see anybody flexing their, their bald head and jacked muscles and tattoos and their Gucci flip-flops and belts and their Ferrari. You're going to see legitimate people who are just in sweats and a hoodie every day, just making money, doing well. Right? I tell them that. So you're a part of a culture where like it's authentic. It's not just like, cars and bullshit, right? Like that stuff's cool. Don't get me wrong. But it's not just all about that, because a lot of people get turned off by that. And then I also explain to them as well, like, hey, that is a reality. And here are some of the things I've been able to do with some people on my team, but here's what it takes. And then I walk them through the process of the first 90 days. And then if at the end of that, I hang like the cherry out there, like, hey, listen, we got these A leads where like they convert at 25%, but like, to be honest, you got to figure out the system a little bit before you start working them. So what you got to do is you got to kind of come in here and get your teeth kicked in. Dialing D leads, they're going to be $1. They're 90 days old. You're going to hear 7 times out of 8 that nobody wants to talk to you, and they're going to tell you to kick rocks. But if you're willing to go through that and just focus on the in-between, not the starting excitement you feel before day one, not the end excitement of the sale, but if I can help you focus on that middle involvement of loving the process, you're going to be here longer than 6 months, and you're going to be up to the A leads sooner than you think, and you're going to be loving life. You're going to be loving life, right? So I create that path and that vision for them, and then I just say at the end, any questions? No? Okay. How would you like to proceed? I want to move forward. I need time to think. Okay, take your time and get back to me. I don't follow, like, take your time and get back to me. If you're not all in, right? Like, now some people need to think, and I'm all for that. But it's like, hey, can we set up another call? Can I talk to my wife? I know this. Okay, this guy's for real, because that's what I had to do, right? I know this guy's, that's what you would do, right?
Yep.
So I just make it a point, Jared, that I explain the work and what it takes to get to what they want, and how like they're going to have to go through a lot of these tough times, but if they're willing to do it, there's no better system out there. Even if you're calling down, and I make it sound a little bit worse than what it is, because if they're going to come, I want them to know, like when they get here, they're like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, oh, you said I had to dial on the phone 500 times a day. Like, I'm only dialing 150. At least they said yes to doing more work, though, right?
Exactly.
So if you say, hey, dude, you didn't book 10 appointments this morning, you got to go make an extra $150 this afternoon, they're going to be like, what the fuck? I didn't know this, So I do that. And then I'll be honest with you, I also make them self-sufficient. I've added 7 new writers probably in the past 90 days into my base shop, some of which are not consistent. So they're just in and out. They wrote a policy, they're out. They probably won't write it. Maybe they'll write again, maybe they won't. All of them wrote it on their own. I wasn't even there. I got the text. So-and-so submitted their first application. I create self-sufficient agents.
Yeah.
I'm not holding them on the nipple. I'm not walking them through sales. I'm not doing all that stuff like Pete says, right?
Yeah.
Just on the nipple of the cow, right? I make sure that I create self-sufficient agents, because I tell them, you got into 1099 to be independent. I am going to help you in the first 90 days. If you attach yourself to my hip, by the end of 90 days, my goal is to make you a self-sufficient agent to where you can buy your leads, be on a standing lead order, work your 4 to 5 days a week, whatever you want to work, have your time in your schedule, know how to do things, and have the confidence that you can plug in and make your sales and make money. So
Absolutely.
That's the goal. Does everybody rise up to that? No. The ones that do, though, I can tell you exactly where those guys are right now and where I'm going to next. I go to their room in Zoom. I don't make them come to my room. I go to them. And I'm in there with them, and I bring the energy in there. Why? Because they're the next wave, and I got to build them up.
That's huge. If someone wants to be a part of that next wave with you and get in touch with you, how is it best to get in touch with you, Dominic?
Yeah, my Instagram is at Nooch, Nooch, that's my nickname, _D. I have a link in my bio to my Calendly. You could just click on that, or you could just DM me. Just DM me, and we'll set it up. And we'll just hop on the phone, have a conversation. So Nooch, at Nooch, Nooch _D.
Awesome. And then I'll drop that down below in the description as well. And Dominic, do you have any last words for anyone that's still here that is maybe looking to join the team, or anyone that's just interested in more information?
Reach out. Listen, at the end of the day, I think closed mouths don't get fed. And if you're that person inside of you who has that fire, that thing that's kind of singing to you, like, don't let that song ever stop. Keep putting it on repeat. In the moment you let that song stop, that's when you start getting miserable in life. You will be more miserable in life going towards the things, or not going towards the things that you want, because of fear of what would happen from it, than you would of the pain going through the things to get what you want. So if that's part of you stepping outside your comfort zone to reach out, my urge to you is, and my kick in the ass is, reach out. So
that's great, Dominic. Dude, I appreciate you so much, and the energy that you bring, just not on this call, but dude, every time you just, like, anywhere you show up to, you just have incredible energy. So, dude, I greatly appreciate it, and I appreciate you just, pouring out your heart for the last hour with us. And dude, I just Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, brother. This was fun.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'm sure we're gonna hop on again, get some more great insight from you, and have get closer to that $1 million month, and we'll jump back on and be able to get it rocking
Let's
and
do it.
rolling. And if anyone's interested in any more information, obviously I'm gonna link Dominic's information in the description. And then if you guys are interested in learning more about insurance, just feel free to click that next video and be able to get some more insight and educate yourself a little bit more on how we make money day in and day out. And thank you guys so much for your time. We'll see you
Awesome.
guys next time.